Let's get into it. You already know what it is, man. It is the Kid Billionaire B, back with another YouTube video. And in this video, I'm breaking down the do's and don'ts of starting an event-based business. For those who don't know, my name is Brian Waldron. Did $3.5 million in event-based sales by the age of 26. Now we have the #1 event-based consulting program in the country. Nobody has more funding reported. Nobody has more cash collected reported. Nobody has more spaces acquired for our clients than us. Known fact, proven fact, testimonial fact. So, like I mentioned, y'all know I don't like to spend too much time on the intro. I like to get straight into it. Do's and don'ts of starting an events-based business. And I wanted to create this video simply because I wanted to highlight some of the things that I know normally get people choked up, normally get people stopped and stalled when it comes down to an events-based business. So I wanted to highlight them, give you a couple pointers on how to get past them so that you don't have to worry about them getting in the way of your events-based goals. Cool. Let's jump into the do's, of course. Let's jump into the do's right away. First thing that I want you to do when it comes down to starting an events-based business is to see a high volume of spaces. The #1 reason most people do not find a location in the time that they set aside for themselves, whatever the case may be, is they simply don't see enough spaces. That's it. They simply do not see enough spaces. And what we've noticed is what we've realized is that ideally you want to see between about 40 and 60 locations. Now you might get lucky and get the first one off rip. You might get lucky and get the third, fourth, fifth one off rip. But ideally, what we're seeing is a lot of clients are seeing between about 40 and 50 locations, between 40 and 60 locations, just to kind of see, you know, which ones. Obviously, some landlords might not respond, some landlords might change their mind, some leases might not go through, whatever the case may be. So it's super important to see a high volume of spaces just to make sure that we're getting enough volume in there to have one trickle down to the bottom and get that space that we want, right? Especially for like my more picky people, you know what I'm saying? #2. Understand that in most markets, there is limited inventory. So it's so funny. I actually had a meeting with our chief of media buying, and I wanted to know some of the states that have the highest search volume for event spaces near me, like for essentially people looking for event spaces. And among those cities were like New York, Houston, Chicago, Florida, Philadelphia. It was very, very common, it wasn't that surprising, but still surprising to a certain extent. And one of the biggest things that you have to understand is that especially when you are in some of these bigger markets, you have to understand that there's very limited inventory in most markets. So you can't be too picky. Not only can you not be too picky, which I'm going to talk about in my third do, but you have to understand you have to jump on these locations. If you're going out and seeing one location every single week or one location every other week or whatever the case may be, you are going to get flattened by somebody in Event Space Elites because we are pumping out locations like that to our clients. So if you want to get a step ahead, you can either join Event Space Elites or you got to understand that you got to be looking at all these locations like crazy and you can't be too picky with them, which leads to my third one, which is there is no such thing as a perfect space. Now, what do I mean by that? Let me get a drink of water first. All right. When it comes down to the perfect space, one thing that we've noticed is a lot of people put constraints on the business for themselves. What does that mean? Oh, I need parking. Oh, I need tons of light. Oh, I need 20-foot ceilings. Oh, I need to be in a metro area. Oh, it can't be in a shopping plaza. Oh, it got to be over here. It's got to be 5 minutes from my house. And the more constraints, the more filters you put on your space, the less results you're going to have at the end. So with that being said, a lot of times when clients come into Event Space Elites, we have to have a hard conversation with them talking about, hey, look, listen, like you got to understand that these constraints matter, these constraints don't. And we only have that one-on-one conversation with them and while we're setting up locations. And then of course, obviously we'll make sure we'll do the do's and the due diligence on the location that they're looking at or whatever the case may be. But this right here is one of the toughest conversations that we got to have with people. One of the toughest conversations we have to have with people because we have to let them know, hey, look, listen, you're not looking for a perfect space. You're looking for a profitable one. And how you're gonna know that it's a profitable one? By using the profit calculator in the program, by using the offer calculator in the program, by using the LOI template, the broker agent realtor list of questions. By using these different things, you're going to know what a profitable space looks like. And if you still don't know what a profitable space looks like, then you just talk to one of your coaches. But one of the biggest things that people need to understand is that a perfect space, the one that looks really good, did not necessarily equate to a profitable location. So just wanted to highlight that real quick. Real big highlight, right? So coming down to the don'ts. One of the number one things about starting your event-based business is that obviously you need, good credit, stuff like that. I just made a video on that. One of the number one things that I've seen is that people get discouraged if they don't get as much funding as they hoped, right? There's easy ways to combat that. You can ask for a credit limit increase. You could have just been denied, but you could go to the reconsideration department. You can double up or triple up on approvals by going to different bureaus. There's different ways to handle not getting the amount of funding that you need. And we've noticed that even some of the people in our program, Event Space Leads, who maybe they had a credit hump, or they had a collection issue or derogatory, it's very easy to get around those things. Very easy. Obviously, when you're doing it by yourself, it's a lot more difficult. When you have a team of people behind you, it does make things a lot more easy, and you can have a lot more confidence going through that process. So if for whatever reason you don't get as much funding as you hoped, if you are in Event Space Leads, just speak to the credit specialist. We have credit calls twice a week. We have credit stacking assessments. You can ask for a new credit stacking assessment. But if you don't, even with doing all that, there's very simple things that you can do. Like I said, speak to the reconsideration department, right? You can ask for a credit limit increase. A lot of times that works. You can just do another round of funding in 30, 60 days, right? Different things. You can go take a look at your credit profile. Maybe there was something there that was affecting it. So there's different ways to go ahead and go about that. Number two, don't get discouraged if a space falls through. Now, this is a really big one. This is a really big one. Don't get discouraged if a space falls through. What we've noticed, and I've seen this time and time again, a lot of people lose gas. They lose traction the minute one event space says, oh, no, we don't want event space. But you got to understand that this is a volume game. If I haven't emphasized that enough in this business, this is a volume game. I really want to drill that home. So if for whatever reason a space falls through, it shouldn't even matter to you, because you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 other locations that you're throwing in the air trying to see which one lands first. You get what I'm saying? So getting discouraged if a space falls through, go in with that mentality. It's kind of like when a guy goes and talks to a girl. It's go in with the mentality that she's gonna say no, or that she has a boyfriend or something like that. Go in with that mentality. And if you go in with the mentality of rejection, the minute you get an approval, it's gonna feel a lot sweeter. You know what I'm talking about? So I don't want anybody getting discouraged if a space falls through, especially if you're in Event Space Elites, because we've had this conversation time and time again. So with that being said, just again, the answer is just volume. You should have so many spaces because it's just whipping up that it doesn't even matter. And then last but not least, don't get discouraged if you don't make $10,000 your first month. The easiest way to go about this is just identify your constraint. A lot of times people aren't spending enough money on ads. They're not posting enough. They're not selling enough packages. Their close rate, they're not tracking their close rate. They're not tracking their show rate. They're not tracking the amount of leads that are coming through, right? Just identify the constraint, because every single time there's a constraint. And I mean, don't get me wrong, 10K is just the tip of the iceberg. 10K is okay, cool, you made a 10K month, woo, yay. You know what I'm saying? But the real goal is $20, $30, $40, $50,000. And that's when you really ramp up with packages and things of that nature, or you're just part of the Scale Your Venue Lead Accelerator, where we run traffic to you and things of that nature. So again, don't get discouraged if you don't make $10,000 your first month. Just identify the constraints, move forward with them, and make a whole bunch of money. That's it. Y'all, my name is Brian Waldron. I really hope this video was really educational. One of the number one things that I want to do, I'm going to drop the link for Event Space Leads below in the description. If you want help finding, funding, and filling your own event space, we actually have a new program where we will actually guarantee your event space in 30 days with 50 bookings in 90 days. So all you got to do, tap in, hit the link below, apply, ask for the premier offer, and I hope to see you on the call soon. Let's get it. Let's go.